In alternate history, it's fun to theorize what would have happened if a few events or decisions were done differently. One of these is the nomination of George Wallace. He was the governor of Alabama for a number of years, and he ran in 1968 on a third-party ticket, but did not win any significant amount of states. He ran again in 1972 and was the subject of an assassination attempt. This, of course, failed, but he was left paralyzed for the rest of his life. What would have happened if he was not shot and ended up winning his party's nomination? In this alternate history scenario, I explore what could have happened if the Democrats nominated Wallace in 1972 and continued to nominate Southern Democrats in the years after. In 1972, the election was between the governor of Alabama, George Wallace, and the incumbent president, Richard Nixon. Nixon had been quite popular, and even though he had not yet lived up to his promise of withdrawing from Vietnam, he was definitely a favorite to win re-election. Wallace was running a campaign that benefited heavily from his opposition to civil rights. It garnered him heavy support, especially in the South, but also some places in the Midwest. In the 1972 presidential election, Wallace only won 7 states, while Nixon won a landslide, winning all of the northeast and western states. This made liberal Democrats within the party argue against nominating another conservative Southerner. In 1976, the Democrats nominated the senator from Georgia, Herman Talmadge, and the Republicans nominated the former governor of California, Ronald Reagan. In a not too close election, Reagan defeated Talmadge with 346 electoral votes to 191. In 1980, however, the situation had deteriorated. This time, the Democrats picked a mildly more moderate senator in Lloyd Bentsen, while incumbent President Reagan sought re-election. The late 70s included many different crises, and President Reagan faced a tough re-election bid. Bentsen, a moderate to conservative senator from Texas, was seen as the proper option to gather Democratic voters from both the left and the right in a common front to defeat Republican President Reagan. In the general election, Reagan lost to Bentsen, who won 298 electoral votes to Reagan's 240. In 1984, being unsure of whether to elect a conservative or a liberal Republican, they went with the Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole to face incumbent Democrat Lloyd Bentsen. However, it did not go very well. The economy was on the rise, and in the general, Bob Dole barely cracked 200 electoral votes. Bentsen carried nearly all of the South and also did fairly well in the Northeast compared to other Democrats. In 1988, however, the economy was again declining, and the continuing rise of the Soviet Union was a big factor in the election between the Oregon Senator Mark Hatfield and the Democratic Governor of Louisiana, Edwin Edwards. In the general, Edwards carried nearly all of the South, but Mark Hatfield made up for it by winning all of the Northeast and carrying a lot of the Rust Belt. In 1992, Hatfield sought re-election against Georgia Senator Sam Nunn. However, Hatfield remained both strong and popular, and with the Cold War against the Soviet Union coming to a close, he won his re-election by a quite comfortable margin. In the South, he carried not only Virginia, but also Tennessee and North Carolina. Sam Nunn did, however, win the states of Hawaii and New Mexico, which went Republican 4 years earlier. In 1996, Hatfield was blocked from seeking another term, and the Republicans nominated the senator from Arizona, John McCain, against senator from Louisiana, John Brooks. Now, it was based on the theory that the Republicans should nominate a moderate Republican in order to win. But in 1996, the luck was not on their side. In the end, McCain lost a lot of ground in the Midwest and the West, while he underperformed also in the Northeast, where he was expected to do well. However, a big factor was Brooks' popularity, especially in the South. In year 2000, Brooks sought re-election, and he was faced by the son of a former vice president. George W. Bush was the governor of Texas, elected 2 years earlier in 1998. Many Republicans viewed him as a more conservative option than McCain, and for that reason he was expected to do quite well in the South. However, he did not do well enough to win the general election, and Brooks continued to make inroads in the West and the Rust Belt, even though he lost many southern states. In 2004, Brooks was blocked from seeking another term, and the election was between the conservative senator from Florida, Bill Nelson, and the moderate senator from Massachusetts, Mitt Romney. The Republican primary was marked by a very divisive battle in the primary between Rick Santorum and Mitt Romney. The conservative option, Santorum, argued that the Democrats would continue to win elections if they continued to win in the conservative southern states. Romney, however, argued that the code to winning an election for a Republican was to win in the Northeast and the Rust Belt. In the end, the Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist decided to side with Santorum, but it was not enough to break the stalemate, and the Republican establishment decided to back Romney. In the end, even though Romney won most of the Northeast, he did lose the general election. Bill Nelson won 3 of the biggest states, both California, Texas and Florida went blue. Romney did, however, win his home state of Michigan and did quite well even in the South, even for a moderate Republican. This was the 3rd time in a row that Democrats had won, and everyone knew that in 2008 it was set for a Republican wave. In 2008, incumbent President Nelson faced the senator from South Carolina, an ultra-conservative named Jim DeMint. DeMint blew out Nelson in the general election and carried most of the swing states. He won Texas, Pennsylvania, Ohio and Missouri, and it was more than enough to carry him over the top and give him the victory. Even though he did very badly in the Northeast for a Republican, he handily won by carrying many southern states that for years have been reliably Democratic. This marked a giant shift, and from this year forward, Republicans would continue to run conservatives who did very well in the South. In 2012, DeMint faced a re-election bid from the senator from Illinois, Barack Obama. However, DeMint easily won his re-election, carrying most of the states that he carried 4 years ago, adding the state of Florida to his column and putting him at well over 300 electoral votes. The liberal senator from Illinois did, however, win in the West and the East, as well as his home state and some other states in the Rust Belt. In 2016, however, the Republican establishment again managed to pull through a moderate candidate in Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey. He faced a Democratic senator from the state of Virginia, Mark Warner. In what turned out to be a quite tight race, it soon loosened and Warner took a big lead. And in the end, he did win with 324 electoral votes. This was the first time Virginia flipped in almost half a century. He also managed to flip some traditionally Republican states like Colorado and Nevada. Christie, however, did win his home state of New Jersey as well as some other states in the Northeast, and this marked the time that even though Republicans nominated a moderate candidate, they still won central states in the inner South, including the former swing state of Missouri that now has become a safe Republican state. In 2020, President Warner seeks re-election against the former governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley. However, Warner easily won, carrying most of the states and even narrowly winning the states of Georgia and Missouri. Haley's campaign collapsed under a lack of enthusiasm, and the current president of the United States is Mark Warner, the former senator and governor of Virginia, who is currently in his 2nd term. So in the end, the South would eventually trend Republican no matter what. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and share and subscribe if you would like to see more. That's all from me today, guys. See you next time.